Okay, so we now have an error message that displays for us whenever we try to navigate to a task and we're not logged in. And it just sort of appears there and then just disappears just as quickly. Having a little bit of animation would be really nice. Just have it like fade in and fade out at the very end. I sort of like think that those type of things to prevent just like hard appearances or disappearances, I like those a little bit more. Plus they like catch my eye when I see them on other websites. Plus, this is an excellent way to show you how to add in animations to our Yew.rs applications. So to get our animation in there, let's head back to our solution. We're going to go into our error message molecule here. And we're going to have this div run our error message. So we're going to have this be the thing that fades in and out. Now, the reason for that is because that's where our background color red is, and I want that background color to be the one fading in and out, not just the text on it, because that would still be fairly harsh to sort of like see the red just appear all at once. So there's two parts to having an animation. We want a keyframes, so keyframes, and then a name of that frame. So let's basically just do there's a fade in out, and then we give it a from, and then what is the state that it is when we first see it? Well, we want to have an opacity of 0, and then a 2. I want this to have an opacity of, let's just say 100%. So that's one phase. The second phase here would be to tell error message that I want it to have a to run this keyframes. So it's animation, how long it's going to last for. So right now we're lasting for 10 seconds. So let's just say 10 seconds. We want to run fade in out. I don't need a delay right now, but I think we're going to need a delay eventually. And then what is the algorithm we want to use? So I think linear is going to be fine for this one. There's a whole bunch of other things we can add in here. I think that's it for right now. So let's have this recompile. Everything is good. And we can see, okay, everything fades in. It's a very slow fade from 0 to 10 seconds. And then as soon as it gets to the full amount, it's will eventually just disappear and go away. Although in this case, it's not really doing that. There we go, finally gone. So we actually want it to go all the way to full and then all the way back down again before it disappears. So we want our opacity to not be at 100% at the 2. We want this to also be at 0. So in keyframes, we're going to set like, okay, maybe like 5%. We want this to have an opacity of 100%. And at 95%, we still want an opacity of 100%. So now this should really quickly fade in, stay at 100% opacity, and then really quickly fade out at the very end. Okay, so that's okay. However, sometimes we get this flash where it comes back. So I'm thinking that we can start this with an opacity of 0 here too. Opacity of 0. So that way it will never sort of like come back. It will just fade fade in, fade out, and even if it wants to display another one, it has to re-render the entire component for this to happen. So now it should just fade out and we should be fine. There we go with that. We had that flashing at the beginning. That's because it's reloading that component a couple times because I'm starting here from scratch. So to handle that, I'm just gonna cheat, and instead of like making a big huge thing to sort of like detect if it's like the first load or if we've like loaded it already, I am just gonna say, you know what, delay this for 2 seconds and then run the animations. That way, okay, it starts running the animation, 2 seconds later, it's already refreshed, and so therefore it won't run that one. And then this is the only one that actually runs. So you must be logged in. And then it disappears. So now we can play with this as much as we want. So if you want this to last for something like 30 seconds, you could change this here, but don't forget that we also need to set how long before it actually deletes the error message from the Yew.rs store. So if you want to do something like 30 seconds here, you have to do something like 30 seconds here too. Otherwise, the error message will just be deleted right out from under you. It'll reset the component and it'll just be a hard removal of that component. But now we have an error message, and that's how we can actually animate pretty much whatever we want. So anything that you want to do, you can, as long as CSS controls it. So we're using opacity here. You can set background colors to be different. You can set shapes to be different, positions to be different, and CSS figures out exactly how to do that and makes it happen. It's really cool. If you haven't played with animations before, I highly recommend you just take a really quick look at it. This one is a really easy way to make something that looks a little bit nicer and a little tiny bit more professional. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.